with.
That's our super short intro just for you, Joe. All the other shows have nice long intros, but for you, we had the boom. That's it. We're on.
I like it.
And I love how I have to be the center of attention with the mug face from when I was at Hulk Hogan's beat shop. And I was in a pro wrestling ring living my dream out. You had to put that on there.
Oh, it's on the internet, so I stole it.
I know it's on the internet.
That's why it's got to be a short intro, because you can't be staring at that face that long.
No, exactly. We don't want to scare the viewers off.
It's a mean face.
I was making a mean face. But it was only because I wanted to meet my idol. I wanted to meet Hulk Hogan. Joe, do you think it's bad that Hulk Hogan's my idol?
Maria, how are you today?
I am fantastic. It's always good to see your face, Joe, because normally I just get to hear you, but now I get to hear you and see you. It's an extra bonus for me.
You know, I told this story earlier on the podcast. We were in 2003. I don't know if you remember this, probably not. We were in Atlanta, I think, in 2003 in the semis, and it was halftime of the Texas game. And you were warming up. The team was warming up for the second half. And you sent an absolute bullet pass that somebody couldn't catch and knocked water all over my notes. So 21 years later, I want to thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, listen, you should be mad at whoever didn't catch it.
A disaster.
Well, this is our flagship show, Husky Hoops. With, of course, the next greatest influencer, the man himself, Coach Schuman. 1.6 million YouTube subscribers and growing.
1.6 YouTube subscribers. That's pretty good. 1.6 million, you mean?
Yeah.
No, it's 1.06. 1.06, Steve.
No, it's 1.6.
If I went from 1 million to 1.6 in 2 weeks,
we lie all the time.
We probably land some really big brand deals.
And also we have the GOAT, the best of the best, the voice of the Huskies himself. We need the greatest basketball analyst alive who knows UConn better than anyone, and that is Joe D'Ambrosio. Joe?
Not sure I know it better than the guys who actually cover the team anymore, but
I
will be going tonight. I will make my XL Center debut for the
really?
Years against Xavier.
Joe, let me ask you this.
Well, no, introduce the smartest member of the panel first.
Well, she's my guest, and she loves me the most, just so you know.
Yeah,
and
that is me and Schuman on. That's obvious.
She is currently the Western Connecticut State women's basketball coach. She also has 52 other jobs that she does successfully. She is an incredible mom and has a wonderful family. She put together a dossier basically called Work Harder, spelled harder, which Heater. And she's also the host of Husky Talk, Conversations with Cully and Conlon. And that would be the lovely Maria Conlon. Hello.
Hello. So happy to be on here today.
Yes, Steve, I know.
You're not representing Connecticut well, the University of Connecticut well, though, because you totally just butchered the spelling of that. You forgot the R. It's H-E-A-R-T-E-R.
Steve, by the way, I know.
Oh, I spelled heater, didn't I?
Yeah, you spelled heater.
Yeah.
Oh,
some of your remedial classes didn't go so well.
Yeah, they didn't. No. I gotta yell at. You met Chris Hill, my RA. Yeah, I'll yell at him because he did half my work. So, you can blame him. Joe, what are the chances on Saturday for $100? Would you go to the XL Center for the women's game? And I said women. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a big issue, Maria. I don't know how he's like with you, but it's always girls. It's always the girls. I said they're winning, Steve.
Yeah, he told me about that. It's funny because when I coach, I just say guys. To my like, you guys good? Like you could say that and it's kind of like universal, but when you say girls, like
I know.
you
It's
start
got
to think of like children. It's like you can't say master bedroom anymore. You have to say primary bedroom. Have you heard that one?
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, you have to say primary
I'm
bedroom.
still gonna say master bedroom.
Yeah,
Joe,
I mean I do too, but I guess cancel culture removed master from realtors' mouths. So
Okay.
I'm going to the XL Center Saturday, so that's why I said if you go, let me know. I'd love to come say hello.
I don't have plans to go. And Steve, if I were there, I would have security surrounding me.
Yeah.
Did you hear what he just said? He would have
Well, just to
There'd
keep
be a
you away
50
from him. Just to keep
There'd
you
be
away
a
from him.
50-foot restraining order.
Oh, okay. Joe.
only
No,
50.
you're not the first to have that
Joe-
restraining order out on him. You're not the first.
Oh my God. Well,
I'm the first
Joe,
of my species to do it, David.
I specifically brought Maria on because I mentioned Maria's remarks and I mentioned your remarks. And I just wanted to give Maria the table so she could make a little bit of an argument for her beliefs on Sarah Strong being one of the best players, if not the best player in women's college basketball.
Man, she sure looked it last night. I don't know, Joe. MVP, the basketball Hall of Fame or whatever showcase that was. I mean, I say that I think she's the best overall player in terms of being able to do everything. Like this kid can play inside, she can play outside. She's a 3-level threat, which I love. She defends, she can pass. I don't know that we've seen, and like correct me if I'm wrong on this, or what not correct me if I'm wrong, but like give me your thoughts. I haven't seen a kid that can score 3-level like this and defend inside out in I don't even know how long.
Well, I think the last part was what differentiates Sarah from other great players is she's a 94-foot defender, meaning she can guard people inside and out. She's been amazing, and I would certainly agree that she is one of the, if not the best college player in the country. My remark to Mr. Turn Things in the Wrong Direction was I just don't think this year with Juju and with Paige.
She won't get it.
Right. Yeah. She's not going to get it. It doesn't mean she's not the best.
Right. I 100% agree with you. I think if Paige had graduated last year,
right,
and Sarah was that person this year, she has a chance. But with Paige being who she is, but I mean, I think right now she's probably our most valuable player on our team.
No question, because Paige has gone through some games where the shot didn't fall. Sarah, the only thing that I think has been a concern, and it certainly happened at Notre Dame, is she's got to learn to pick her spots as far as fouls is concerned. She can't, with the roster diminished again because of injuries, especially last week at Notre Dame with AZ out, you couldn't afford to have Sarah get 2 quick fouls. Yeah, like she did in that game. I thought
the third one was kind of BS, but
you have to expect that on the road.
She should have let it go, but I think in the way that the game was being reffed up to that point and the physicality on both ends, I was like, this ref's really calling this right now. Like there's so much more contact, but to your point, I think you're spot on. Like just let that loose ball go because you staying in the game for the next 7-8 minutes is more important than that one possession of the loose ball.
Especially on the road in that kind of environment.
Well, and that's a tough place to play.
Yeah. Yeah, It's underrated. It's not as tough a place for the men anymore, although it was once upon a time. I mean, I remember when college was playing, the good Catholic kids, they said some shit that was pretty offensive. That had Dave Lato, who, as you know, was one of the gentlest souls and still is on the planet, ready to go after somebody in the stands.
Yeah.
They were so offensive.
Well, I don't know if you remember this, my freshman year, which I would always argue was probably one of the deepest rosters ever assembled in women's basketball. I mean,
yeah, it was.
You had Diana Taurasi coming off the bench.
Right.
But we played there and they like dismantled us. I mean, it was bad. They blew us out. They charged the court. We had like 5 or 6 kids on our team that got tackled by like Notre Dame fans.
Oh, I remember.
Was that when they had that Ruth
Riley? Yeah.
Girl.
Ruth Riley.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what used to annoy the daylights out of me was
not me.
Muffet's husband was the most obnoxious cheerer and would run on the court and applaud after the game ended and make sure he hugged his wife. And it's like, dude, stay away till she walks in the tunnel. It's like it's not about you, Maddie. It's about your wife.
Right.
That used to piss me off to no end.
Get a room. Yeah.
But I totally agree with you, Maria. I think Sarah Strong is the next big star in basketball.
If I had $1 billion right now and I wanted to invest in NIL money into a kid, she would absolutely be my number one investment.
No question.
And I say that like she's one of those kids. Like I remember when Nafisha Collier was playing and you could tell like freshman year, sophomore year, like this kid was already a pro.
Yeah.
This kid now, and we're not even halfway through the season yet, she could go play. She'd be my first pick in the WNBA draft this year if I had the number 1 pick. Like she's that good and she hasn't even scratched the surface yet.
She's only going to get better.
Yeah. It's crazy. I'm excited for her. Her mom is really nice. Allison, who works for the Celtics. She's a humble kid, really down to earth. And like, she doesn't even get phased. Like this kid, she acts like she's 24 years old out there in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Maria, I had a question from a viewer from another show who wanted your opinion or thoughts on this about Paige going to Dallas. If you thought that Paige does not want to go to Dallas, if you thought Paige going to Dallas would affect her decision to possibly coming back to UConn for another year.
Well, I mean, listen, here's the thing with Dallas, right? If they kept that coach, I would say if I was her, I wouldn't want to go there either because I just don't think that, I've watched a bunch of those games. I didn't like what they were doing there, but there's a new coach. So it's kind of a variable of what they're going to run and what that system will look like. When you think about like staying because you don't want to go and be drafted first to go to Dallas, that to me, that's a risky situation because first of all, she's had injury issues, right? It's not like she's had a career that isn't full of that. So you stay in college another year. You risk getting injured and maybe not being the number 1 pick next year. And by the way, Dallas could still get the number 1 pick next year too. I mean, there's no promise that it won't be the same situation next year. So you can't just keep pushing that off. I think her decision should 100% rely on what's best for her in terms of whether she wants to stay for another year or whether she just wants to go to the league. I think if they win this year, she should definitely go. I think even if they don't win, I think it's time. Like
I think it is too.
I think it is.
Like we've said this before, like with Van Wilder, like how many times are you going to stay in college to try to win a national championship? It's like,
Dave stayed 6 years.
I figured out how to go to grad school so I could save 2 more years.
It's
and the thing too, Maria, I think, is that if she goes to Dallas, she doesn't have to worry about being the only gun. They've got Ogunbowale. So
Correct.
she
Correct.
doesn't, the pressure's not going to be on her to carry the team
Yep.
like it's been in years gone by at UConn. I think I agree with you. We love seeing her, but it's time to go.
Yeah.
Well, the person who asked said it was because of the person you just mentioned, that she may not be like the best teammate,
Well,
and she was worried about Paige and her getting enough shots.
I don't
Like
know.
there's
Like,
not
I
enough
don't.
shots to go
I
around.
just don't agree with that. I think,
Yeah.
like,
Okay.
Enrique has to, like, she has to take all those shots right now. They're
Right.
bad, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
and they had some injuries this year. You know, does she have a quick trigger? But like, show me a WNBA team that doesn't have one player who takes a lot of shots. You know what I
And
mean?
it's not like she can't play.
That's what I
Right.
mean. So,
Yeah, right.
and I think that from what I've seen and what I've read, like, she's excited to have another player that she can kind of play off of and take some heat off of her. So, you know, I think these kids, like, you know, they want to win. So the fact that she was excited and announced that she was so excited that they got the number 1 pick, I think is a plus, because that means that she wants to defer a little bit and that she wants somebody to play with. And they do have some good pieces there. They have their big coming back. So and Lou Lopez Seneschal is still there. I think it'd be cool to see her be able to play with Lou, because we didn't get to see that when Lou came to UConn. I really wish we would have, because I think they actually would play really well together.
Mhm.
So I think it's a good scenario for her. I think it would be foolish for her to stay another year. I think it would be played out at that point. It's like,
No, I
In
agree.
basketball, one player makes a big difference. So
yeah,
one player coming in that could do the things that she does really makes a big difference and changes what your win totals are going to be just from that player if you get that first pick. It's not like football where you get the first pick, it may not do anything for you.
yeah,
Basketball makes a big difference.
yep. No,
right,
I mean,
it absolutely does.
I think she would have loved if LA got the first pick, but that's just not the way things work out. It's like when
You do more
Diana was coming out
TikToks.
of. It's like when Diana was a senior. She would have loved for LA to be the first pick, to be in her home state in a rap, but that's just not the way that it is. And I think she'll do
It's a
fine there. I
business.
think that coach will put in a new system. If that other coach had stayed and they didn't let her go, I think maybe that would have changed things, because I don't think she had control of that roster at all.
And there's not many times that the players manipulate where they go. I mean, the two prime examples from football are John Elway and Eli Manning.
Eli Manning.
Other than that,
That's it.
it's the way it's been since the draft was created. You get picked, you
Yep.
go to a team, and if it doesn't work, then you opt out, or you stomp your feet and ask for a trade. So, I don't think, and plus, to be honest with you, I don't know if Paige was taken by Dallas and she decided she didn't want to go, came back to UConn for a 6th year, and then went somewhere else. What would the perception of her be among the other players in the league? We saw this year the everything that went on with Caitlin Clark. Paige doesn't need that headache. Paige is what, 23 now, 22, 23?
Yeah,
So-
she's older.
It's got to be
Somewhere
23.
time to go.
Yep.
Time to go.
Time to go.
Stay
Joe,
in college as long as you can.
I agree with
That's
I
because
agree
you
with
didn't have
you.
a pro option, Schuman.
That's true. I would have left. But I would have came back at the end of spring for Spring Fest.
I had wanted to ask you, Joe, just because we talked about the Gonzaga game and playing in the Garden, and UConn showed up, but Caravan really didn't have the best game. He definitely struggled shooting. Do you think there's something still going on there with with the injury?
No, not at all. He missed shots.
You just think okay.
He can run. We all love Alex. We love everything that he does, but he can run hot and cold as a 3-point shooter. The thing about him is if he's not making his shots, he still does everything else that makes him so valuable. Number
Right.
one, being a leader. Number two, rebounding. Number three, the way he helps run the offense. So no, I don't. I think that would just be an excuse. I don't think it has anything to do with with having the concussion.
Okay, because that was my concern. Because I didn't. It just he looked a little off, but I didn't know he ran hot and cold.
Steve, here's been my point since I started following sports. If you're hurt, don't play. If you play,
You're
I
right.
don't want to hear about your injuries. Plain and
You're
simple.
100% right. You're 100% right.
Plain and simple.
And
Well, having
Dave
said that,
Grant-
McNeely stepped up tremendously in the Gonzaga
Oof.
game.
You know, Maria talked about Sarah, and look, for UConn to have two freshmen like this, that's I think you have to go back to well, boy, I don't even know, because Diana was a freshman. I was thinking Diana and Emeka, but Emeka didn't come in till 02.
Yeah, he was younger
He's
than
a
us.
year younger, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember when there's been two freshmen with this ability. Maybe Rip Hamilton and Nikisha.
Well, you had our freshman year. Karan Butler was actually a freshman with us. Now he only stayed
that's
2
right.
years, but I would kind of put that up there. You know what I mean? Because
Yes.
Karan was phenomenal our
Correct.
freshman year.
Maybe the guy who's been overlooked the most for having a phenomenal UConn career.
Yeah.
And I will pull back the curtain on this. Maybe one of my favorite stories at UConn, because when Karan was a freshman, we all know he had gone through some problems. He had been incarcerated. He came from a tough neighborhood in Racine, Wisconsin, and he was very suspicious. It was hard to talk to him. I remember we were in Austin. He tried to talk to him in the elevator. He wouldn't. He was very one-word sentences. And the problem at that point was, who was the great freshman on the women's side? Well, Chatty Cathy. What in Diana, right?
Yeah.
Well, Karan came back the next year and was 180-degree different, and it is now one of my favorite ex-Huskies of all time. And it's just proof that some kids need that year to mature. But getting back to McNeely, I mean, he should have been Big East Player of the Week. They gave it to the kid from Georgetown. He earned Freshman of the Week, but he just showed them. I don't think you have to be scared about the moment being too big for him.
No, 26 points. I mean, the big spot in the game that was going back and forth.
Garden.
Like a few times, it looked like Gonzaga was gonna, come back and take it over, and he hit a shot, and he do it again and again. I mean, he moves well without the ball too. I mean,
Yes.
He really does a great job of that. He continues to move, finds a shot. I mean, it was impressive.
Well, his energy too, right? Like he plays with so much energy and emotion.
Right.
And for a freshman, right? It's like it's fun when you see that, because to your point, Joe, sometimes it takes like a year to really there's playing in Stores South, right? Madison Square Garden under the big lights, and he just ate it up. And I love it. I absolutely loved it.
I totally agree, Maria. He's something special. I know people want to compare him to Cam Spencer from last year, and Spencer was great, but he didn't have the skill level of the McNeely kid. Not even close. And Spencer was good. Don't get me wrong. Really good for UConn last year, but McNeely
he was a fifth year.
Yeah.
So like that's after 4 years of college. This kid's
Right.
not even halfway through his freshman season.
Yeah.
He's big, McNeely. He's big.
Oh yeah, but he's another one. He could play inside. He could play out. He's like Sarah.
Exactly.
He's very well rounded. He can shoot. He can get downhill. Another 3-level scorer. He's got a nice mid range. It's the future looks bright.
He's got the headband going. Like looking like Will Ferrell from what's the basketball movie back in the day where
Will Ferrell in Dodgeball, wasn't it?
No,
No.
where he
No,
was,
I
he
know
owned the
who's talking
basketball
about.
team, the minor league.
Semi-pro.
Yeah, semi-pro.
Yeah,
That was it. You got the iPad going and everything. He's got his own look to him. Got to bring in a couple more of those extra NIL dollars with that unique look.
Now,
Joe,
Joe, I wanted to ask just because I don't know, and I was curious for your thoughts without getting chastised for it. But Samson Johnson
Let me
again.
just say this. I'm delighted that I have you scared out of your mind.
I am scared.
He's scared of Maria, dude. He's scared of Maria.
Well, you should be scared of Maria. I'm scared of Maria.
Samson Johnson, he starts 6 minutes and 4 points, 2 rebounds. He really didn't do much. Why?
He
Why
got
do you
hurt.
He
What
got
are you
hurt.
talking about? He didn't do much.
Yeah,
He
Okay.
played great at the
Okay.
beginning of that game.
he got hurt like within the first 8-10 minutes. Joe?
Yeah.
Now
Yeah,
you know. Now
He
you
didn't
know.
play the
Now the
rest of the
cat's
game.
out. Steve didn't watch the game.
I didn't know it was
Yeah.
an injury. I didn't know it
Don't
was an
let the
injury.
facts get in the way of your opinions. No, he played great. He was more
Okay.
energetic than I've seen him so far this year. But he got a concussion. He won't play tonight
Oh, it was a concussion.
for Saturday. Yeah.
It was,
Yeah,
actually,
he played.
it was actually scary the way he fell, and he was.
Yes.
It was very scary. But I think that what I liked about him early in that game, Joe, was that what I found with him since he's been at UConn is he just leaves his feet too much, and he gets himself in trouble and foul
That's
trouble.
right.
I thought he did a
Yeah.
better job of that in the
Yes.
beginning of that Gonzaga game. So it was a shame that he went out because I was hoping that was going to be the game where he was going to realize, just stay on your feet. You're
Yeah.
long enough, time it a little bit better.
No, him and Reed did a good job of liking out the EK kid, who was
Yep.
Gonzaga's best player and turned out to be a non-factor. No, Johnson had 2 jams early. He had an alley-oop, and then he had a dive to the hoop where I think it was Caravan fed him or maybe McNeely fed him, and he dunked the ball. And that was a big part of them getting up 13-2 and the crowd going ballistic. Now,
Which
that
you
is
said
credit.
was very important. You said that they had to get off to a fast start.
right.
That was extremely, extremely important.
Well, I mean, when you've got an environment like that, it always helps when you can get the jump because then your crowd gets energized. And, but to Gonzaga's credit, they came right back. I mean, as Coach said, there was a couple of times they looked like they were going to take the lead. But no, I know I would chastise you. Now I thought that Johnson had it was short because of the injury, but I thought it was one of his better stretches this year.
Right. Right.
Reed has really been coming on the last 4 games, playing consistently. I think averaging around 10 points a game, 10, 9, 12, 12 in the last 4 games, and getting more. I think he can get more rebounds than he is, but just being a presence has been I think that stability. I think UConn has to have way Hurley likes to play that center that really is a stabilizing force. And between the two of them, they're kind of starting to act as that. But Reed has really improved tremendously. He had one breakout game against, I think, a terrible team. And then other than that, until the last 4 games, those last 4 games, he's really played consistently well. And I think that's a big part that will help them continue, down the road. If they're going to make a run, that's what they need.
Look, if he averages 8 rebounds a game like he is for the season, that's fine because you're going to get a certain amount with Johnson. The question I will be looking for from Reed tonight is to stay on the court. Without Johnson, they've got the Singari kid. And look, everybody was raving about Singari 6 or 7 minutes, and God bless him, but I didn't think it was anything special. I mean, I think they were holding him to a pretty low standard if people got all gung-ho about that. But having said that, he did what they needed him to do. But tonight's a big night to see if Reed can stay out of foul trouble. Xavier's missing their best big man. Zach Fremantle is hurt. He's got an upper body injury. But they've got decent size. UConn just absolutely beat the crap out of them last year at the XL. It was one of the worst beatings in Big East history. Sean Miller, 10 players from last year's team are gone. You talk about football coaches. You talk about what Deion Sanders did at Colorado. Sean Miller did the basketball version of that at Xavier. and they brought in a boatload of transfers. They brought in another kid who's playing at your third school. You know what my thoughts are on that.
I know.
But but Reed tonight has to stay on the floor.
Yeah, no, I complained about that too. The transfer portal made me go crazy the other day with the
Skylar Bell, your guy Skylar Bell.
That's
world's
what's
greatest wide receiver.
Joe. The worst thing I
Oh,
did,
you didn't have to
I
say
sent
that,
him a text at night. Okay, I sent him a text. I said, "You won't believe it. Skylar Bell's in the portal." And the next day, we had our I don't remember which one it was, but
You let me come on the college football show.
oh
but I
yeah, the
didn't-
college
you don't
football
come
with
on.
Shane. And he just forget it.
I
I
went
should
at
not
Shane.
have told him that Skylar Bell had gone into the portal. I mean,
Well, it wasn't.
Shane's first words were, they didn't get him the ball enough. That was Shane's first words, which took Steve off a cliff. Steve went off a cliff. He said he's had 47 touches. That's not enough. That's what Shane said. Should have had 75, 80, right?
No,
And
I said that he easily could have had.
yes, but you went off a cliff as far as just the portal, and
Oh yeah, I went
didn't
completely
use
off
them
the
enough. And
I went completely off a cliff and was completely inappropriate, and I apologize and regret some of the comments that I made that I should not have. And again, Shane was ready to fight me for it. But Joe, what are your not to get too far off topic, your thoughts on guys entering the transfer portal yet still being able to play in the bowl game?
Oh,
You think
absolutely.
that
Yeah,
should-
why not? They're just like used
You
car
do.
shopping. That's all they're doing. Is they're used car shopping. I mean, first off, I don't want to get into a big transfer portal thing because it's just tedious. But why not do it later? Why not do it from the end of the bowl games to February 1st, and just for football, and do it that way? I mean, because you got enough guys who opt out because they don't want to get hurt for the draft. So that's step one. But now you got guys in the portal. I mean, Coach Morris said he thinks, it's not a definite that Bell won't play in the game. But if let's say Bell signs in a P4 school and they send to him, well, we don't really want you playing in the Wasabi Fenway Bowl, he's not going to play.
That's why
it's not fair to the other kids on the team. Correct. I don't give a rat's ass about how it is for Bell. It's not fair to the other kids on the team.
And that's what Dave was saying too.
Dave's a smart man.
It's not fair to the other kids on the team. I wish
they would have let me get a PhD there. I would have stayed for a couple more.
But then there's teams like Marshall who had to pull out of the bowl game altogether because they didn't have enough kids. Everyone
but that was an extenuating circumstance.
Because the coach left. I know.
The coach leaving and everybody bailed with him.
And they were trying they couldn't agree on an extension. So it was like a money thing where the players felt like Marshall didn't do everything they could to keep the coach because he wanted to stay, but he wanted a certain contract time period and a certain amount of money. So when they couldn't come to agreement, he went to the worst team in their conference. He took a job at Southern Mississippi. Yes. They were over, I think, in the conference. So it wasn't like he upgraded. So it was really a conflict from that standpoint. The Marshall players just all jumped right in. But that is the danger of the portal on both sides of the things. Like everybody's on eggshells because of that.
No, so I know.
That's yeah.
I got a question for Maria. Maria, if NIL had been in existence when you were playing at UConn,
we talked about
other than Tarazi, who we know would have been, a multimillionaire, who on that team would have made more NIL money than you?
Let me think now. I mean, it depends on what years you're talking about, right?
That your junior and senior years.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, maybe Ann
Strother. Oh yeah, it would have been you. Yeah,
maybe.
Definitely.
I think you would have been. number. I love Ann, but I think you would have been number 2. Connecticut kid, personality, can play. Most importantly, I think you would have been. I'm thinking that because when Rip Hamilton was back last year to be honored, and his jersey retired. And he had a press conference before, and the last question I said to him, I said, if NIL was around when you were playing, how would you have done? And he just started laughing and shook his head.
Joe, when they retire my jersey, can you ask me that question? I just want to make sure.
I'm sorry, my speaker went out.
You got a tuna sandwich and a
Isn't
lemonade.
Joe, isn't it crazy though? Like I think about, like, listen, people ask me kind of that same question in a different way all the time. And I'm like,
they do.
I mean, listen, it's funny because back then, like, we were just happy to have like college paid for and maybe we get some per diem here and there. Right. I mean, and none of us cared. Like it was a non-factor because there wasn't anything. But it's so wild to think about the trajectory of people's lives back then to now. And like, I'm so happy that these kids can take advantage of that. But
absolutely.
I just find it like it was so much more pure right back then because you
100%.
played for each other and you played for your university and you played for your coaches. And that was really it.
Like a brotherhood.
There was no branding. There was no social media yet. Like things were just different. And that part, like maybe that was a good thing for some of us, right?
You played for the name on the front of your jersey.
That's it. That was all it was. It was just blood, sweat, and tears.
And I think the advent of agents and their involvement now and how they're more involved. I think the college game has changed forever, and I don't think it's changed for the better.
No, it's for the worse.
Because I firmly believe somebody is going to screw this up for the NCAA. Some school, a couple of schools are going to screw it up, and the whole thing's going to blow up like a nuclear bomb.
Dave, tell Joe your theory on the athletic departments.
He did.
Because I'd love to.
I did last time. I said I think that.
I got the CTE, so I forget.
Steve, are you vaping or are you doing something else there?
No, the CTE. I got CTE. I forget things.
I think I told Maria. Maria
about
too.
The billionaires.
Listen, I mean, who knows where it's going to go? But I think that some version that creates a cap, whether it's somebody owning it, whether the NCAA gets strong. I mean, I seen it thrown around that people are like Nick Saban should be in charge of the NCAA. Yeah. Well, if you saw
NCAA czar Nick Saban.
Yeah, well, because he's obviously out of the game partially because of the whole craziness with the transfer portal and NIL. But if you saw yesterday, and this was on the football side, but this is going on in everything, probably basketball as well. There was a player from Texas Tech that came out. He had like 8 catches, and he's in the transfer portal. 8 catches for like 130 yards. He's going to Texas A&M, but in his demands, he had a list of demands that he posted on Instagram of what he wanted from the next club. It was like $700,000 up front, cars from here to there, 3 cars for me and my family. I mean, it was a list of things.
Who do these kids think they are?
Now, I don't know if he got it when he signed. He's going to demands. But I'm just saying that, like, that's where that. So when you say it gets out of control, it already is out of control. It's just a matter of when they try to put the genie back in the bottle, because all you're doing is trying.
You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Guys, that list of demands has always been there. Now it's just they can legally and publicly do it. Let's not forget about that. Like,
but a guy with 8
demands has been going on for a long time with some of these programs and some of these sports.
How does someone who has 8 catches in a season demand 700? But that's what's changed.
Somebody told him he was worth it. Somebody in his private circle told him he was worth it.
And he got it.
You can get that.
Do you worry,
Maria's
about
right.
that?
Maria's 1,000% right. This has been around forever. It was just kept quiet in the old days, and it was limited to football. Now it's football and basketball, and at some schools it's hockey. At some schools it's baseball. It's all over. I think one thing that we need in football and maybe in the 2 basketballs is a commissioner of the sport. I think we need a commissioner to run college football. I think we need a commissioner to oversee men's college basketball and oversee women's college basketball.
Wasn't that what Charlie Baker's supposed to be doing?
No, he's president of the NCAA.
Well, doesn't that oversee college
no,
football?
no.
College? It doesn't. Okay.
No. It's not.
completely
No,
different.
it's just you're in charge of that sport. You oversee that.
Okay.
If somebody screws up, you have the right to penalize them.
Right.
Charlie
right.
Baker's the CEO. He's the president of the NCAA. I think it's better, and it's not as big an issue, I don't think, Maria, in women's basketball, but certainly for football and men's basketball, you need a commissioner.
But
Maria, do you worry about
Yeah,
at the end of the season having conversations with your own players that may want to enter the transfer portal, that you think that 2 or 3 could try to move on? Not at all.
No. At our level, it's
completely
we're not even
different.
talking NIL. It's not.
Yeah.
No. I mean, it's like I said. I think I said it earlier. When Joe was asking me how the season was going, was like, it's my job to just make sure the kids want to stay on the team. It's not my job. Like, they're not being recruited to go to other D3 schools. It's really not to that level because there's no athletic scholarships. So, they're there because they want to play. They're juggling academics. And so I'm juggling more of like, how do I keep these kids happy enough to just want to play for no money versus all the other stuff. But no, I don't think so. And I think at my level, it's like, I just got to create a culture that kids want to be a part of.
Exactly. And
they gotta have fun. So I have to juggle that happy medium between like us wanting to win and us wanting to show up every day. Not like, it's not to the UConn levels where it's like, if you don't win a national championship, the sky's going to fall type stuff. It's not really like that. Joe, I have a question for you. I know what my answer is, but I'm curious what your answer is. In your opinion, who would be the perfect fit to take over when Gino retires?
I think Carla Berube, because she's got the experience at Princeton. I think Shea would be a potential candidate.
Do you want to hear mine?
Yes, absolutely.
I told him.
So I feel like with Carla, I think she has the experience, but she has the experience recruiting a very different type of kid.
Right.
Because she's been at high academic schools, right? She was at Tufts and then she was at Princeton. So I think that's a totally different recruiting thing. I don't know that Shea would want it. Only, would she be a good fit? I think she could be.
Yeah.
I personally think, and I've been saying, you can ask Meg Kumo.
I told Joe who
say it, and I will. And this person knows it because I send her real estate stuff every week up in like the West Hartford area.
Yeah.
I think the perfect person to take over for Gino is Diana Taurasi.
That's interesting.
That's not who I thought you were going to say.
Steve? Who
wow. I like that a lot. I think that's a great one.
You would talk about Morgan.
I think Morgan should be like the CD, but I don't think here's what we have to remember, right? Is like this role is way bigger than just anything else. You have to have a huge personality.
Right.
You have to be able to handle the media. You have to be able to attract the same type of kids, right? And I think you got to know the game inside and out. And I think that there is no better person who's loved by the state of Connecticut.
Not even close.
Who has the personality, who can recruit the kids, and who can also coach. I mean, she's been a coach since she was 12 years old on the court, right? Like,
right. That's fascinating, Maria.
I think that is.
I had never thought of that, but that's really
even with no true experience. Like you wouldn't want her to have like a Jim Harbaugh.
The celebrity thing is now a big deal now.
It's not even, guys. You listen. First of all, you could put Diana Taurasi as a head coach anywhere in the country right now. I guarantee she's going to be successful. But number one, she's just not one of these people who's really good at the game. Like she knows the game.
No, she's special.
She knows it. She's played over in Europe for a ton of years. So she knows that style. She's been in the league. She's been successful at every single level. And she's always been a coach on the court, right? Like in her position and the way she is. and just the way she is with people and the way she would be with recruits, like what top recruit in the country is not going to want to go play for Diana Taurasi for 4 years?
I love it. You know what, Maria? I think it's first
What,
off.
what, Joe? You love it?
First, yeah, because Maria came up with it. First off, I think it's kind of thinking outside the box, which I think is good. You made every point you made was a good one about kids would come here. My only thought, and this has nothing to do with the current administration, is you'd have to have somebody in charge. You'd have to have an athletic director who would be willing to take the slings and arrows if, for some reason, it didn't work out. Because it's not a safe pick. As much as we love Diana, the fact that she doesn't have experience,
and her GM is Maria Conlon.
I agree with you, Joe. I think we've seen it in a bunch of different places. Like, look at Kara Lawson. Yeah, I'm not like a big Kara Lawson fan. I'm just want to go on record for that. But I think, like, she didn't have any coaching experience. She was a commentator, right? Went in, got the head coaching job at Duke, and I think she's doing a great job there. But I think, in my opinion, it's the safest pick in terms of success. Like, I don't know how she wouldn't be successful at it. I just can't envision a world where she wouldn't be super successful at it.
Well, and I think the other thing you have to do, though, is you have to make sure you hire a staff that has experience, that can help her, be a big help with recruiting. You probably need somebody, and I hate this term in college sports, but we hear it all the time. You need a general manager to manage the portal and the NIL money. But with the proper support staff, let's do it. Let's do it.
Right? I mean,
and then Maria would be on staff too. Maria
wouldn't be on this podcast then. I can tell you that.
Yes, she would.
No, I mean, I just think that from a tradition,
that does make sense.
Blue, you know what the hardest sell to her has been so far? Because I think like I work on her like all the time. I'll send her like a beautiful house in West Hartford. Like, look at this. The biggest sell is going to be getting her and Penny to move to cold Connecticut in the winter. Like that's the biggest.
Get the tanning beds fired up.
I know.
Get the tanning bed. You're gonna have to get her a couple of tanning beds fired up.
Yeah,
so she can keep the glow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just think that I think the traditional, we've seen it so many times, the traditional of like, oh, you need experience to go take on like we've seen so many now, and I'm not saying they've all been successful, right?
Right.
But like we've seen so many people just end their careers. Like Lindsay Whalen is a perfect example, right? Like Lindsay Whalen just jumped in to be the head coach at the University of Minnesota, and I don't think she was ready.
Right.
But if Dee takes like right now, right? She takes 3 years and takes time and like kind of learns the back end stuff of it while he's still there.
Yeah.
I think it's seamless.
I think it's great. The more I think about it, the more I like it.
Yeah. Yep. So we gotta like speak that into existence, man. We gotta make that happen. I'm doing my part. I'm on realtor.com once a day for her.
Joe, I had wanted to ask you just about the Mahaney kid and his performance against Gonzaga and your thoughts on that, because he's kind of been an enigma, so to speak.
No, I don't think he's been an enigma. I just don't think he's played well. I don't think there's any enigma about it. He had 1 3-minute stretch in the Baylor game where he played well.
Yeah.
And other than that, don't forget, they're trying to make him a point guard,
which
he was 2 guard at St. Mary's.
Yeah.
And he's just now his defense is good. He seems like a great kid. He seems like a real good team player. He just hasn't played particularly well. I mean,
it's still early.
Look at his numbers. he's 35% from 3-point range. That's not
No,
hideous.
that's good.
He shoots better from 3 than he does from 2. The turnovers, he's only committed 6 turnovers in 11 games. That's not awful,
I thought they had been starting him too at the beginning. Were they not or no?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
they tried starting him.
He started the first 5 games, and then starting in this Colorado game in Maui,
Right.
they went with Diarra, who I still think is more effective for them coming off the bench.
Yes, and you've said that.
I still think he's more effective as like an energizer coming off the bench. But who knows? Maybe at some point it all clicks for Aiden. And if it doesn't, then he'll fill a role. And maybe when the Noel kid is healthy, we might see him tonight. He had missed a couple of games with an injury. Maybe he takes over as the number 1 guy. But you're not gonna bury Mahaney.
What were your thoughts on a solo ball and playing with Caravan together?
They've done it all.
Lineup?
They've done it all year. I mean, it's not.
Yeah,
it's not breaking news. I mean,
no, but I mean, playing the 1, playing the 2, and kind of trying to pass that off because Caravan's not a traditional 1. Solo ball's been trying to play the 1, correct?
Well, and Maria, because she's got much more technical experience than any of us do, it's almost at times become a positionless game. Especially the men's. Especially, I mean, your big guy.
100%. And when I watch the UConn men, it's like when you say point guard nowadays, it's like, all right, who's going to be in charge of against pressure?
Right.
Who's going to get the ball past half court so we can get into our positionless offense? But if you're a ball player growing up and you're like, I hate when somebody says like, what position are you? Right? Like you've got to now be able to play.
You got to do it all.
Yeah. And like you got bigs that are stepping out. Like if you watch them last year and you see this with Sampson a little bit, it's like Klingon, you would see him at the top of the key a lot.
Right.
Right? Because now he's dragging that big away from the hoop, and then you got the cutters going. Just more of an open architecture of an offense. So I think like
sets up for the big. If the bigs got decent foot speed,
exactly,
then they can dive to the hoop. I mean, we saw it on Sampson's second hoop against Gonzaga.
It was a nice slip.
He slipped to the hoop, and Caravan found him for a dunk.
Yep.
Maria, I just wanted to get your thoughts on last night's game because you were concerned going into it.
Well, listen, when you shoot 10 for 11 in the first quarter from 3, the game's over. Like, it would have had to be like, poor Iowa State. I felt so bad for them because, like, Ashlyn Shade has not shot well all year. Yeah. And she comes out and is just, like, completely unconscious. And then it becomes contagious. You know what I mean? Like, then everybody starts making shots. It's like, if KK Arnold made a 3, I wouldn't have been surprised. I was surprised that she did. I wasn't surprised that she didn't. But, like, it was just a frenzy. I think Iowa State, they'll be a team to watch coming down the stretch.
You said that,
because they've got some nice pieces. I think they just caught UConn on a sizzling hot night. I texted Morgan.
UConn needed that.
Yeah, Joe, you'll love this. I text Morgan first thing this morning. I said, did we save any threes for Saturday, man? Like, can we shoot like that on Saturday again? Like, because I think we might need to against them.
Against Southern Cal, yeah.
Yeah, I mean – I think they pose a couple of really tough mismatches for us Saturday. We just still don't have an identity in the paint, really at all. I thought Ice did a pretty good job being scrappy and getting around that kid last night when she could and using her foot speed versus her height. But we just still don't have a clear identity in the paint, and that's not like the end of the world, right? Because we talk about positionless basketball and. Last year we played with 4 guards a ton, but I think USC has some nice pieces on the perimeter that hopefully AZ can go Saturday. I don't know if she will, but we'll see. What do you think, Joe? You think we're going to pull it out Saturday?
I think playing here is a big advantage.
I wish it was at Gamble though.
Yeah. Yeah, but the
I don't
XL
think. I
Center,
just don't think the XL Center is as big of an advantage for us as it used to be.
I think it is for the men.
For the men, maybe, but not for the women. I think
it is. I think it is for them. No, I mean when you look at you look at the Tennessee game your junior year in the snow when you beat them in overtime.
Yeah,
that was one of the great crowds
I remember that
in UConn basketball history.
What was crazy about that was I remember we woke up and I mean there was so much snow and like we're going from the Goodwin, which is right across from the Excel Center, and we drive the bus right across, and we're all like, man, we're gonna have nobody. It's gonna be like a ghost town in here today. That stinks. And like we get out there for warm-ups, the place was packed. That was probably top 3 most fun games I've ever played in. Nobody thought we were gonna win that game.
I would agree.
We were down.
I was doing the games then, and I was living in East Haddam, and I woke up and I said, "Uh-oh, this is not going to be easy." So we left. My wife and I and my stepson at the time. We left super early because I always said to people, if the broadcaster's not there, they're going to start the game. They're not going to wait for him to show up. So we left crazy early, and we got to the XL Center. I think it was a 3:00 game, 4:00 game, which was fortunate because it gave more time for the crews to get the roads in better shape. But when we got there, the parking lot was pretty well full at the time at the XL Center, and I remember that crowd. I think it was because it was Tennessee. It was because the people knew it was a nationally televised game, and everybody's just happy to be out of their houses.
Yeah. And that snowstorm.
It was electric that day. I mean, it was.
And then to have Diana do what she did,
she hits the half court shot. Yeah, she hits the half court shot to end the half, and then we were down like 9 with like 3 minutes left.
3 minutes left.
Next pocket makes a great steal, tips it ahead. D gets the layup. I mean, it was. And then D hits that shot. Well, here's the funny part. I know Coach has told that story, but he before the game, he had said to me, he had given everybody like, here's what we need to do, because we were young, and like Tennessee had a lot. They were the ones that had all the veterans.
Yep.
And he said to me, you need to hit 3 threes today for us to win. And the last play to send it into overtime, he actually drew it up for me to catch it going towards the wing. And what's hilarious is that like 3 people came with me. They let Diana catch it at the top of the key. It was like the greatest decoy in the history of sports, and she drains it. And then I hit 3 in overtime. So he said to me afterwards, you had to wait till overtime to get the 3rd three. But I mean, what a freaking game. That was
amazing.
Awesome. It was
one of my favorite games I've done in the history of UConn football. That and a couple of college games where we got flagged a couple of times and holding.
No, I never got
79.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's Steve Cully.
Dave, stop laughing. Stop laughing. Stop laughing. I was a glorified cone. That's what I did. I was a cone. I got in the way. You're on mute, by the way. If you want to make fun of me, unmute yourself. Yeah, he's laughing.
That's probably for the best, right? I don't know.
Yeah, he's muted. You're muted, Dave. Just so you know. If you want,
I said that. Listen, at least you're not cursing today.
I told you I was going to be on my best behavior today.
Today, you took a baby step in the right direction. You know what I
mean?
Well,
you could have fired me after yesterday, so I
would fire you. I just didn't want Shane to hunt you down in the middle of New York State and have to take you back.
He probably would have. I had him that angry. He probably would have.
What got you so angry? What about the? No, don't go into it now.
Don't go into it
because I don't have 15 more minutes.
You don't have time. You don't have time.
Maybe in the post-Christmas New Year's edition of this.
Okay. No, I will. No, it was just it was just stupid. I said something I shouldn't have. That's all. I was disrespectful to Shane, who obviously was my predecessor.
One of the 3 greatest quarterbacks in UConn history.
The best.
You didn't even make my top 20 offensive linemen. And you were disrespectful to him?
I was very disrespectful. Yes, I was
Wow.
very disrespectful, and I had to do a show later with him that night as well. So that was interesting. But I was wrong. I admitted it.
Steve, it takes a big man to admit he's wrong.
It does.
I always admit when I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I always admit when I'm wrong. So
And the next time if I'm ever wrong, I'll do that.
yes, if you're ever wrong, you'll do that, and you don't have to worry about Starbucks coming to your house.
Yeah.
But Maria, I am coming up. I'm gonna come Saturday, so I'm gonna hopefully. I know you have your house party. Hopefully, I'll get to see you either before the game or Sunday before we leave. And just your prediction for the women's game Saturday, and then Mr. Joe, your
sir.
prediction for the men against Xavier.
Beauty before age. Go ahead, Maria.
Okay.
I think it's going to be I think it's going to be within 5 points either way. I really could see it going either way. I think I like us on the edge. If we can play offense, if we could shoot anywhere near what we shot last night, I think we'll be totally fine. But we got to get some post play. We got to get like between Jana and Ice. I think we need like 15, 16 points. I don't think that Paige and Sarah can carry us all the way through Saturday. I think we need some really good. We need the role players to do what they do. You know, we got to get some people rolling. But I say UConn by 5.
Well, I have to go to the game, so I hope they do win. So,
And I think
Joe?
tonight you've got a Xavier team, as I said earlier, that's missing their best player. They have a bunch of guys who haven't played a Big East game before. I think the inexperience, even though they're guys who have been at anywhere from 1 to 3 other colleges, the intensity gets ratcheted up for a Big East game. I think UConn wins by double digits tonight, and I think Butler, even though they're only 7-4 at the start of conference play. Hinkle can always be a difficult place to play, but I think the guys take 2 in a row and start the conference season 2-0. Even though UConn's record in conference openers has not been great, it's stunning as well as the team has done in Big East play. They're under 500 in conference openers.
Well, I mean, at least we're on a 3-game winning streak, right?
Yes.
Going into this.
Yeah.
So, and then just quickly, what are your thoughts on the women's game Saturday?
I think Maria's right. I think it's going to be hard. Juju's going to want to show out to a national audience. And I agree with Maria. I think as the bigs roll, so goes the Huskies. I think it's good that Ashlyn got off the schneid on last night, and hopefully that carries over. And again, the wild card is AZ. If AZ can play, it's a whole different scenario. If she can't, then it's probably against that team, life or death.
Yeah. Joe or Coach Schuman, anything to add? Anything you want to yell at me about?
No, we're 2 for 2. We'll go 2 for 2 this weekend.
We'll go 2 for 2 this weekend.
Yes,
okay. And I was good. I didn't say anything inappropriate. I was good on this show. So I was.
The bar is set so low.
The bar is set quite low. The bar is set quite low. I will give you that. But I was good. So I get a cookie for that. That has to count for something. Yeah, but I will say for our lovely guest, the head coach, the women's head coach at Western Connecticut State University, the Wolves, and she has 52 other jobs, and is just a wonderful mom and has a wonderful family. The lovely Maria Conlon, the icon himself, the best of the best, the GOAT, the voice of the Huskies, then, now, and always, Mr. Joe D'Ambrosio, and the greatest influencer we have up and coming, 1.6 million subscribers to our the Dave's YouTube channel. Remember, it's Coach Schuman's Sports and Entertainment YouTube channel. Smash that subscribe button, and there's nobody that provides content on the UConn Huskies like we do. We provide all the best sports coverage. Don't buy the crap that they have on their website. Don't buy the lockdown crap. Don't buy any of that crap. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know the teams. You know who we have? We have the best. We have the experts. You know who's down in the corner? Joe D'Ambrosio. You know I was down in the other corner? Maria Conlon. And you know who's up in the top left corner? Steve Cully. We all played.
Cully unhinged.
Well,
Cully, yeah.
that we all played thing is slightly misleading, but
yeah. Well, we all have experience. We are more knowledgeable than anyone UConn puts on the air. So remember that. And this has been Husky Hoops. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges and throw them back at life.